Can you solve all these materials science questions? Engineers study.
Solid response. All types of materials is a valid choice.
Kevlar is not used for. On track. Science lab coats is the correct answer. Material science includes. Smart pick. All choices is the correct choice. Ferrites are a subgroup of. Excellent choice. Ferrimagnetic materials is the right answer. Permanent magnets are made of. Great thinking. Hard magnetic materials is the right choice. Example for ferrimagnetic materials. Clear logic. Your choice ferrites is sound and 100% true.
3 main classes of materials accept.
Well reasoned. Nanomaterial is the correct choice.
Categories of materials as below accept.
Well picked. Chain is the correct answer.
The most frequently used materials have.
Bravo. Polycrystalline structure is the answer. The ferromagnetism in materials is due to.
Valid point. Partially filled 3D orbitals is true.
Which of the following materials will float?
Right again. Empty plastic bottle is a valid answer.
The properties of materials are divided into. Well done. 4 groups is the right choice. Which of the following materials is fireproof? Nicely done. Concrete is a solid answer. Deformation of materials in response to stress. Smart move. Strain is an accurate answer. What are synthetic materials mostly made from? Nice selection. Chemicals is the correct and valid answer. Dislocations in some materials majorly cause the. Great job. Increase in the strength is the accurate answer.
What is the name for the small holes in materials?
Strong choice. Pores is the right answer. Nanotechnology is a brand new science that studies.
Sharp thinking. Tiny elements is the right choice.
What is a mechanical property of ceramic materials?
Excellent. Low density is a brilliant choice. Which of the following materials does sink in water? You got it? Your choice stone is right.
Dash are made up of 2 or more synthetic materials.
You're right. Composites is the correct answer. Which of the following materials, if usually organic? Good thinking. Polymers is the right answer. The following determine the use of different materials. Correct response. Physical and chemical properties is the most accurate answer.
Solar cells are fabricated using the following materials.
Correct. All the above is the right answer.
A common microstructure found in ceramic materials is a.
Perfect. Crystalline structure is the correct choice. Dash magnetic materials has high retentivity and coercivity. You chose hard, and it is correct. Which of the following materials exhibit ferroelectricity? Good job. Your answer, Rothschild salt, works well here. The pure Si and G semiconducting materials have dash bonds. Right choice. Covalent is the best answer. What is the term for a material's ability to resist tearing? Nice work. You chose high tensile strength, and it is correct. Which of the following materials do not conduct electricity? Exactly. Wood makes sense and it is right choice. A materials that does not allow any light to pass through it. Excellent choice. Opaque is the right answer. Polyester, nylon, acrylic, and acetate are all examples of dash. Solid response. Polymers is a valid choice. Which of the following materials has the highest specific heat? Strong choice. Aluminum is the right answer. Which of the following materials is suitable to make raincoats? Correct. Plastic is the right answer. What did Milo and Susie suggest using to keep the ice pops frozen? Exactly. Materials from Angelina's house makes sense and it is right choice. Which of the following materials has the ability to absorb water? Excellent. Cotton is a brilliant choice. Which materials exhibits room temperature ferromagnetic behavior? Perfect. All the above is the correct choice. Both synthetic materials and natural materials are made from dash. Great thinking. Natural resources is the right choice. Pick the paramagnetic material from the below listed materials ash. Smart move. Oxygen is an accurate answer. What must be considered when selecting materials for manufacturing? You chose cost and strength properties, and it is correct. Which of the following is a property of materials used in buildings? You got it. Your choice conductivity is right. What is related to the material's resistance to plastic deformation? Nice work. You chose hardness, and it is correct. Which of the following materials is used to reduce sound reflection? Well picked. Wood is the correct answer. What are considered as the building blocks for engineering materials? Good job. Your answer, atoms, works well here. Materials, which provide a path to the magnetic flux, are classified as. Clear logic. Your choice magnetic materials is sound and 100% true. What should we try to do with materials when we are finished with them? Nice selection. Recycle them is the correct and valid answer. What materials do we add to a silicon crystal to create a p-type material?
Correct response. Trivalent impurities is the most accurate answer.
What did Milo and Susie tell Angelina they could use to solve the problem? Smart pick. Materials from Angelina's house is the correct choice. Brittle failure usually does not occur in materials with any lattice type. Right choice. I is the best answer. Which category of materials is hard, very brittle, and has no flexibility? Right again. Ceramic glass is a valid answer. Here is the properties of materials. Something that easily to break cold. Sharp thinking. Weak is the right choice. Which of the following types of materials are usually grouped with polymers? Well reasoned. Elastomers is the correct choice. Here is the properties of materials. If we can see through it, it's called dash. Well done. Transparent is the right choice. Things, materials, substances, and components found in the natural environment.
You're right. Natural resources is the correct answer. Among the classifications of materials, this material has the best conductivity. Good thinking. Metals is the right answer. The atoms in many ceramic materials use which bonding mechanism to hold together?
Valid point. Ionic is true.
Inspiration for new types of synthetic materials often comes from observations of dash.
On track. Nature is the correct answer.
Which of the following is not a factor that limits the production of synthetic materials? Bravo! Creation of waste is the answer.
Which of the following materials is hard, has high heat resistance, and tend to be brittle?
Nicely done. Ceramics is a solid answer. Typically very hard, extremely brittle, and are highly susceptible to fracture.
Great job. Ceramic is the accurate answer.
Which type of the following materials is used for making the front glass of a car?
Smart move. Transparent is an accurate answer.
Which plastic molding type has fast cycle time, widest choice of materials, but high capital costs?
Valid point. Injection molding is true. The critical temperature above which the ferromagnetic materials lose their magnetic property is known as.
Correct response. Curie point is the most accurate answer.
It involves investigating the relationships that exist between the structures and properties of materials.
Perfect. Materials science is the correct choice.
Involves designing or engineering the structure of a material to produce a predetermined set of properties.
Exactly. Materials engineering makes sense, and it is right choice.
Which of the following materials has high tensile strength? They do not snap, tear, or stretch under tension.
Nice selection. Steel is the correct and valid answer.
The information below shows 4 types of materials. Are woods, plastic, leather, rubber, which materials come from plants?
Good job. Your answer are and you works well here. The production, use, and disposal of synthetic materials can have various impacts on individuals, society, and the dash. Well done. Environment is the right choice. A microscope that uses magnets to focus electrons that are transmitted through thinly sliced specimens of non-living materials. Excellent choice. Transmission electron microscope is the right answer. In the formation of synthetic materials, natural materials undergo chemical reactions wherein their dash rearrange and form new molecules. Well picked. Atoms is the correct answer.
State the materials used to make this object. Right choice. Synthetic cloth is the best answer.
The practical use of scientific knowledge is called dash.
On track. Technology is the correct answer.
Which of the 4 types of materials is most prominent in 1940? Bravo, metals is the answer. These are examples of dash, strong and flexible, soft and absorbent, conduct heat or electricity.
You chose properties, and it is correct. How you will get all these quiz questions in PDF books format.
Solid response. Contact Narayan Changder is a valid choice.